Okay, let's dive right in. The source material we're looking at today, it really just throws you into this world. It's intense.
Yeah.
You hear that sound, the Ikwi drum at night? It's not just music, it's a message. Death carried on the air. Chilling.
And then you juxtapose that with something like the market massacre in a bomb. Just brutal, shocking violence described so matter-of-factly. It completely shatters any, simplistic view you might have had.
Exactly. It puts that everyday life, the culture we see earlier, into such a stark context. Powerful stuff.
You immediately get this sense of powerful forces at play, right? Things you see, like the community structure, but also unseen things, spirits, external threats. The narrative just weaves it all together.
Yeah, it shows a society with deep roots, established ways, but also one that's, well, vulnerable.
Definitely vulnerable.
And listener, you gave us this fantastic set of sources, mostly excerpts from Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart, just a cornerstone of literature.
Absolutely foundational.
So we're here to guide you through it.
Yeah.
And yes, full disclosure, we are artificial intelligences.
That's right. We process information maybe differently than humans do. We look for patterns, analyze cultural dynamics.
But our goal here is simple, to break down these complex sources for you, to pull out the key insights, the stuff that really matters.
Think of us as your expert guides, built to synthesize this dense material. We take pride in processing these narratives, extracting the core meaning. We want to help you get informed, quickly grasp the main themes, the cultural details, the tragedy, without getting bogged down.
Yeah, we're cutting through the noise to find the signal, the important facts, the insights, the human drama, and, the flaws too. Our job is to make this vital story accessible, engaging.
And hopefully help you connect with why it's so important even today.
So if you find this deep dive helpful, if our analysis clicks for you, please do hit that like button and subscribe.
It really helps us reach other people who are curious about this kind of analysis. Your support lets us keep doing these deep dives.
All right then, let's get into it. We need to start at the beginning, build the foundation, explore the world of Umuofia presented in these texts, and especially the man at its center, Okonkwo, starting with the long shadow cast by his father, Unoka.
Right, Umuofia. The society Achebe shows us is anything but simple. It's vibrant, it's complex, there's a clear social structure, a deep connection to the land, to their spiritual beliefs.
You really feel that communal aspect. The Iloso, the village green, essentially central for gatherings, wrestling, the Igbo court. Life revolves around it.
And the rhythm of life is tied to practical things like market days, Eek, Afo, and the farming seasons, yams especially.
Yams are huge.
Absolutely critical. And woven through all of this is this constant awareness of the spiritual world.
Yeah, the sources mention Agbala, the oracle of the hills and caves, Anini, the earth goddess, ancestral spirits.
And these aren't just abstract ideas. They're part of everyday life. They influence decisions, people fear them, they demand respect. There are taboos, rituals. The physical and spiritual are deeply intertwined.
And right in the middle of this society that values strength, achievement, providing, you have Unoka, Okonkwo's father.
Oh, Unoka.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sources are pretty blunt about him. Lazy, improvident, couldn't think about tomorrow.
Loved palm wine, loved hanging out with neighbors, loved making merry, all the things Okonkwo would come to absolutely despise.
His whole philosophy is summed up in that quote, right? Whenever he saw a dead man's mouth, he saw the folly of not eating what one had in one's lifetime, purely focused on the now, on enjoyment.
Which is just fundamentally opposed to how that society worked, isn't it? Building wealth, planning, working the land, especially with yams.
Completely at odds. And it wasn't just an attitude, it had real consequences. The text says he was, of course, a debtor, and he owed every neighbor some money.
There's that great scene with Okoye coming to collect a debt. 200 cowries. Not a huge amount, but Okoye needs it because he's taking a title.
And Unoka just laughs. He brings Okoye inside, shows him the wall covered in chalk lines.
Right. Each group there represents a debt. Each stroke is 100 cowries. Debts everywhere.
And his excuse is priceless, isn't it? Uses this proverb about the sun shining on those standing before those kneeling. Basically saying, I'll pay my bigger debts first, you'll have to wait.
Twisting wisdom to avoid responsibility. Classic Unoka.
Exactly. And the impact. His wife and children had barely enough to eat. He was a failure as a provider, a source of shame.
People laughed at him. Okonkwo himself felt contempt. But There's another side, too, isn't there? The sources mention it.
Yes, and this is where it gets really interesting. He was apparently very good on his flute. His happiest times were after the harvest, playing with the village musicians.
He loved music, the feasting, the community aspect of it. He could really play, weaving intricate melodies.
Text says the music could be gay and brisk, but also hold sorrow and grief. So there's depth there.
So, okay, complete failure by the dominant standards, work, wealth, providing. But he had this artistic skill, this appreciation for communal joy.
It raises a question, doesn't it? Is he just a failure? Or does he highlight a tension in Umuofia itself? Does their intense focus on strength and wealth maybe undervalue things like art, fellowship, things Unoka actually embodied?
That's a good point. A clash between the practical and the less tangible values.
And his death really seals his fate according to the clan's values. He dies of swelling, which is an abomination to the earth goddess.
Right, they can't bury him. He has to be taken to the evil forest and left there. No proper rites.
A terrible end. And that detail about him taking his flute with him, it's kind of heartbreaking, isn't it? Clinging to the one thing that brought him joy. His death wasn't just personal, it was like a social cleansing, reinforcing the norms he failed.
Understanding Unoka is just so crucial for understanding Okonkwo, though. It shows how societal values shape what counts as success or failure.
And what happens to people who don't fit that mold, even if they have other talents?
Makes you think about our own definitions of success, doesn't it? Is it all about the material, what gets left out?
Which leads us right into Okonkwo himself, the man defined by rejecting his father.
Absolutely. The sources couldn't be clearer. His core motivation, the engine driving him, was to hate everything that his father Unoka had loved.
It wasn't just dislike, it was a deep gut-level reaction. Fear. Fear of being like his father, fear of being seen as weak, idle, effeminate.
And that fear fueled this insane work ethic. He was all action, few words. Driven, ambitious, wanted status.
Worked daily on his farms from cockcrow until the chickens went to roost. Rarely felt tired. It wasn't just for show, either. You had to work that hard to survive, let alone succeed.
His early life sounds brutal. Grim struggle against poverty and misfortune, always under the shadow of Unoka's failures and debts.
That story about asking Achebe for yam seeds, it tells you so much. He's young, but he doesn't beg. He asks for a chance to work. He presents himself as someone who's had to fend for himself since he was a kid.
And Achebe sees it in him. I can trust you. I know it as I look at you. You can tell a ripe corn by its look. He recognizes that drive.
Yeah, and gives him double the usual amount of seed yams. A huge investment. Yams were the king of crops, demanding immense labor. Nokabe was betting on Okonkwo's potential.
And it paid off. It cemented Okonkwo's path. Hard work equals success equals status.
But he wasn't just a farmer. His fame really started with wrestling, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. Throwing Amulet to the cat, undefeated for 7 years. Huge deal.
And the key thing is, the clan didn't see it as luck. They saw it as earned. He cracked them himself. His will aligned with his chi, his personal spirit. When a man says yes, his chi says yes also.
So the community respected that. They judged him by the work of his hands, by what he achieved.
But that drive, that success, it came with a dark side, his personality.
Definitely. Brusque, impatient, harsh, especially with men he saw as less successful, like that incident with Osugo.
Right. At a meeting, Okonkwo just dismisses him. This meeting is for men, essentially calls him a woman.
And the word he uses, agbala. It's loaded, isn't it? It means woman, but also man without title.
Exactly. And Okonkwo himself had been called that as a boy, likely because of Unoka. So throwing it at Osugo, it's pure projection. His own deepest fear and shame turned outwards.
He's reinforcing his own hard-won manliness by putting someone else down.
And an elder calls him out on it, reminds him those whose palm kernels were cracked for them should not forget to be humble, acknowledges his effort, but warns him against that pride, that lack of respect.
Okonkwo mumbles an apology, but inside he's furious. It shows that tension again, doesn't it? Umuofia values achievement, yeah, but also community respect, humility. Okonkwo struggles with that balance.
It's a profound question. How does fearing becoming like a parent shape you? Okonkwo's reaction is so extreme, building this rigid identity. But does that rigidity end up trapping him? Does the overcorrection create its own problems?
Definitely something to think about. Let's step inside his compound now, see how these dynamics play out in his family, and explore some of the deeper cultural beliefs, like the Ogunbanje.
Right. His household reflects his success. Multiple wives, Anasi the first wife, with her symbols of status, then Ekwefi, Ojiugo, several children, Onwarie, his son, Ezinma, his daughter,
And his relationship with Onwoye.
Yeah.
It's heavily colored by that fear of Inoka, isn't it? He sees incipient laziness in the boy.
Sees his own father, perhaps, and he's determined to crush it. His method. Constant nagging and beating. Brutal.
Yeah, and the effect on Onwoye is devastating. He becomes this sad-faced youth just trying to survive under the pressure, forced into these manly tasks that don't seem to suit him.
He pretends to be interested just to appease Okonkwo and Ekemefuna, but inside, you get the sense he's looking for something else entirely.
Then there's Ekwefi and Ezinma. That relationship is so central and so full of anxiety.
Understandably so. Ekwefi's lost 9 children before Ezinma. 9 infants. Ezinma is everything to her.
And that history fits perfectly with this terrifying belief in the Ogbunje.
Right, the changeling child. A spirit child who keeps dying and being reborn to the same mother just to torment her. Ezinma's pattern of sudden severe illnesses fuels that fear. Is she one of them? Will she leave?
So the culture has a way to deal with this, right? Finding the Iuwa.
Exactly. This object, like a special stone that links the Ogbunje child to the spirit world. If you find and destroy it, the connection is broken and the child might stay.
The source describes the scene where they call the medicine man, Okagbu, to find Ezinma's Iuwa. It sounds incredibly tense.
Well, absolutely. The whole community is involved. Watching. Okagbu questions Ezinma. She directs him. They dig. First dark soil, then the red earth. Everyone's just holding their breath.
He finally feels something, pulls out this pebble wrapped in cloth, the Iuwa.
And there's this collective sigh of relief, this hope that maybe, finally, Ezinma is here to stay. It really underscores how deeply these spiritual beliefs permeated life and family anxieties.
We also see traditional healing in action when Ezinma gets that fevery bow.
Yeah, and Okonkwo actually shows a different side here. He goes himself to gather the medicinal herbs.
Right, that Ekwefi boils them, and they put Ezinma over the steaming pot under a mat. Intense.
Very intense. Forcing her to inhale that steam, it's their way of fighting severe illness.
But the crucial detail the source gives us is about Okonkwo. Although nobody else knew it, he had not slept at all last night. He had felt very anxious but did not show it.
That's huge, isn't it? Behind that harsh exterior, he's terrified of losing Ezinma. He clearly loves her, maybe sees his own valued strength in her spirit.
But he can't show it. Weakness, anxiety, that's Unoka's stuff, so he hides it.
It perfectly captures that internal conflict, the cultural performance of masculinity versus his actual feelings. This whole section just shows how cultural beliefs about spirits, health, destiny-shaped family life create anxieties and reveal hidden depths even in characters like Okonkwo.
It makes you think, doesn't it, about the private burdens people carry under their public masks, shaped by the fears and beliefs of their culture. Okay, let's shift focus a bit. Look at Umufika's justice system, how they pass on wisdom, and then the arrival of the stranger.
A key institution we see is the Agugu court. This wasn't just law, it was deeply spiritual. Held on the Ilo, masked figures embodying ancestral spirits come out to judge disputes.
The description is amazing. The whole village gathered, men here, women there. That sense of awe, even fear. The gongs, the flutes, those strange guttural voices.
And the Egwugu themselves, 9 of them for the 9 villages. They keep their distance, addressing people formally as bodies, Uzawulu's body. And people show deference, touching the earth. The leader is called Evil Forest, linking them to that sacred, powerful place.
In the case they judge, Uzawulu and Magbafo, it shows their approach, right? He beat her badly, caused a miscarriage, her family took her back.
Yeah. The Agugu hear both sides, but the judgment isn't about punishment in our sense. It's about restoring harmony.
Uzulu has to take palm wine to his in-laws. Beg her back. They're told to accept if he does.
Exactly. It prioritizes reconciliation, keeping the family and community intact over just assigning blame. It's about restoring social order through ritual.
And wisdom isn't just in judgments, it's in stories too.
Yeah.
Proverbs, folk tales.
Absolutely. Proverbs are the palm oil with which words are eaten, essential for communication. And Ekwefi tells Ezinma that story about tortoise and the bird's feast in the sky.
Ah, the tortoise story. Classic trickster tale. He wants to go to the feast but can't fly.
So he sweet-talks the birds into giving him feathers, then convinces everyone to take new names. His name, all of you.
Genius. So when the hosts say the food is for all of you.
Tortoise claims the whole feast, eats everything, the birds are furious, take back their feathers, leave him stranded.
He tries to trick Parrot into getting his wife to put out soft things for his jump down.
But Parrot gets revenge, tells the wife to put out hard things. Tortoise jumps, smashes his shell, and that's why it's all cracked.
It's a great story. The moral's pretty clear. Don't be greedy. Don't trick people. Reciprocity matters. A vivid way to teach values.
Yeah, narratives as cultural glue, teaching lessons.
Then there's the sheer power of traditional religion embodied by Kielo.
The priestess of Agbala, normally just a widow, a friend to Ekwethi, but when the spirit possesses her, utterly transformed, terrifyingly powerful.
That night she comes for Izinma. Wow. Her voice, clear as metal, full of curses. Agbala demands the child.
And even Okonkwo, powerful as he is, has to yield to the oracle's authority. Ekwefi's desperate chase through the night, terrified for Izinma. It's incredibly dramatic. Shows the depth of her love and the oracle's power.
And Okonkwo again. He pretends to be stoic, but the source says he was very anxious. He waits a manly interval, then goes searching, making 4 trips to the oracle's cave, finding Ekwefi waiting there.
That hidden worry again. It clashes so strongly with his public persona. His dismissal of foolish women shows that internal struggle.
This section really builds the picture of their world, their beliefs. But then comes the shift. The story of Abame.
Yeah, Obirika tells Okonkwo this during his exile. A pivotal, chilling story. A single white man arrives in Abam on an iron horse, a bicycle.
Says nothing they understand. The oracle warns them, he's just the first. Others will follow, bring destruction.
So the people of Bama, out of fear, kill the man and tie up his bike. 3 months pass. Then, on a busy market day,
3 white men and many others appear. They surround the market and just open fire. Massacre almost everyone.
the survivors describe it as powerful medicine. Guns, coordinated attack, total devastation. Only a few escape.
It's a brutal introduction to the white man's power, utterly ruthless. Okonkwo's reaction is typical, isn't it? Why didn't they fight back? He sees it as weakness.
But Obirika sees deeper. He calls the white men the locusts the oracle warned about, and he understands the real problem. It is already too late. Our own men and our sons have joined them.
He sees the internal division coming, converts collaborators. That makes resistance impossible.
Exactly. The Abamis story is a horrifying foreshadowing. It shows how fear of the unknown, coupled with that potential for internal betrayal, just paves the way for catastrophe.
So think about this, listener. Contrast Umuofia's justice with the colonizers' later actions. How do stories transmit values? And how does fear of the new, of division, lead to disaster? These aren't just historical questions. They're about power dynamics we still see.
The warnings have been sounded. Now the collision happens full force. The missionaries arrive, and the new faith immediately starts exploiting the existing cracks in the society.
They arrive in Mabanda first, where Okonkwo is exiled. What's the initial reaction?
Mostly curiosity, maybe some amusement, especially with the translator and his dialect issue saying my buttocks instead of myself. It makes the message seem a bit silly to many.
Okonkwo is completely unimpressed, right?
Yeah.
Thinks they're mad. The whole Trinity thing, the hellfire.
Yeah.
It's just nonsense to him. He leaves.
But Noye reacts differently. It's not the mad logic that gets him. It's the poetry of the new religion.
The hymns.
Yeah, the hymns, especially the one about brothers who sat in darkness and in fear. It speaks directly to his own trauma the twins left in the bush, Ikemefuna's death. Things he can't reconcile within his father's world.
It offers him relief, like
Why?
frozen rain melting.
Exactly. It feels like an answer, a comfort. That's why he's drawn to it. He eventually leaves his father completely, goes to the mission school in Umuofia. Mr. Kiaga, the local church leader, frames it as choosing Christ over family.
So the clan, still suspicious, gives the missionaries land. But it's a trap, right?
Kind of. They give them a plot in the evil forest. Everyone expects them to die within days, consumed by the evil spirits. It's a test of the missionaries' power versus the traditional forces.
But they don't die. They survive. 4 days, 7 days.
And this completely rattles the clan. How could they survive? Their explanation. The white man must have powerful magic, a powerful fetish. Maybe his eyeglasses let him see and control the spirits? It's a major blow to the clan's confidence in their own spiritual protections.
Who were the first converts, typically?
Often the marginalized. The Efufu, as Kilo calls them, worthless empty men. People without titles, outcasts, those who felt let down by the traditional system. The church offered them status, community, acceptance they didn't have before.
Wei joining them, telling Obirika Okonkwo is not my father. That shows how deep the break could be.
Then comes another big test for the new church. The Osu, the outcasts.
Right. People dedicated to a god, considered taboo, couldn't mix with the freeborn. They see the church taking in twins, others, and they want in.
And the existing converts freak out initially. They move away from the Osu in the church. They're caught between the Christian message of equality and centuries of ingrained taboo.
But Mr. Kiaga holds firm.
Absolutely firm. He says the Osu needs Christ more than you and I. He challenges their fear, makes the Osu shave their ritual hair as a public rejection of the old ways and proof of faith. He points to his own survival, the twins' survival, as proof the old gods have no power over them.
Does it work?
For some, yes. It strengthens their faith. Others can't handle it, they leave. But it establishes the church as a place willing to break even the deepest taboos, which is both radical and deeply divisive.
The sources also draw a contrast between the missionaries themselves, Mr. Brown and Reverend Smith.
A crucial difference. Mr. Brown, the first one, is more pragmatic. He tries to understand Igbo beliefs, finds common ground. He even discusses theology respectfully with elders like Akuna, suggesting Chukwu is just their name for the Christian God.
He focuses on building things, schools, hospitals.
Yes, he sees education as the key. He warns the clan that if they don't learn the white man's ways, others will, and those others will end up ruling them. He believes in compromise, engagement, slow change.
Reverend Smith is different.
Completely different, rigid, sees everything as black and white, good versus evil, black is evil. The mission is a battlefield, no compromise. He condemns Mr. Brown's approach, wants purity, not numbers.
So Smith's arrival changes the whole dynamic.
Drastically. Brown built some fragile bridges. Smith comes in with a sledgehammer. His intolerance, his rigidity just pours fuel on the fire. It makes confrontation almost inevitable.
You really see here, listener, how a new belief system can latch onto existing inequalities, offer something to the marginalized, but also deepen divisions. And the personalities involved, Brown versus Smith, they shape everything. It's not just ideas clashing, it's people with different approaches leading to vastly different outcomes.
And now, with Smith fanning the flames and the clan already divided, we get the explosion, catalyzed by one particularly zealous convert. Enoch, described as an outsider in his own fanaticism, wept louder than the bereaved, rumored to have killed and eaten the sacred python, a massive taboo, especially since his father was a priest of that cult.
Mr. Brown tried to keep guys like him in check.
Yeah, Brown saw the danger. But Smith encourages Enoch's excess of zeal, sees it as righteous fire against heathenism. Enoch is like a lit match waiting for dry tinder.
And the spark comes during that annual ceremony for the earth deity, with the Gugugu present.
Exactly. And the ultimate taboo in Umuofia is unmasking an Ugugu in public. It's like killing an ancestor, destroying the basis of their spiritual world.
So what happens? The Christians need to pass? The Egugu agree to step aside for a moment?
Showing some accommodation, yeah. But Enoch can't leave it alone. He boasts they wouldn't dare touch a Christian. One of the Egugu hits him with a cane as a warning.
And Enoch snaps.
He attacks the Egugu, rips off his mask, right there in front of everyone.
Catastrophic. An unimaginable desecration.
The clan is stunned, then furious. The other Egugu shield their unmasked brother, take him away. The village is just reeling.
How do the Egugu respond?
Swiftly and decisively, they descend on Enoch's compound like a furious whirlwind, level it completely, run it down. Then, intoxicated with destruction, they head for the church.
Smith is there.
He is, scared but resolute. Stands at the entrance with Okeke, his interpreter. Okeke sticks by him, despite disagreeing with Enoch earlier, a moment of loyalty and chaos.
Ahofia, the lead Egugu, speaks to Smith.
Yes, using that formal spiritual language. He acknowledges Smith as a stranger, ignorant. Importantly, he says they won't harm Smith himself out of respect for Mr. Brown.
That's key, isn't it? Their initial aim isn't necessarily killing the white men.
Right. It's about protecting their culture, punishing the sacrilege Enoch committed, restoring balance. Ahofia says the church must be destroyed because it has bred untold abominations by harboring Enoch.
He offers a way for them to stay.
Sort of. You can stay with us if you like our ways. You can worship your own God. But the church itself, having enabled this desecration, has to go. And they destroy it.
The clan thinks they've dealt with it, settled the score, but they've underestimated the other white man.
The district commissioner. He returns, hears the story, invites the 6 leaders involved, probably Okonkwo among them, to the courthouse for a talk.
Deceptive politeness again. Let us talk about it like friends.
Pure manipulation. The leaders come expecting diplomacy, maybe carrying sheathed machetes, but not ready for a fight. The DC has them disarmed and handcuffed immediately. Brute force disguised as administration.
Throws them in jail. Demands a huge fine, 200 bags of cowries.
frames it as punishment for disrupting his peaceful administration, threatens to hang them if the fine isn't paid, imposing the Queen's law by force.
And the court messengers, the Kadma, they add to the humiliation.
Oh, yes. Often Igbo men from other regions, loyal to the colonizers, they treat the leaders roughly, shave their heads a deep insult, spread terrifying rumors in the village about hangings and destruction if the fine isn't paid.
Pure intimidation. And it works.
It paralyzes Umuofia. The village is like a startled animal, sniffing the air, terrified, not knowing where to run. The ILO is empty, fear takes over, collective action becomes impossible.
So you see it clearly here, listener, how extremists like Enoch, rigid figures like Smith, and the manipulative power of the DC just escalate things beyond repair.
Yeah.
External force crushes traditional justice. Fear paralyzes the community. It's a devastating picture of collision when power is so unbalanced.
And that sets the stage for the final tragic act, Okonkwo's last stand and the crushing weight of the inevitable.
Okonkwo's been imprisoned, humiliated. He's filled with bitterness, but also this desperate excitement for war.
Yeah, the night before the big village meeting, he's sleepless, gets out his war dress, he's made up his mind. If Umuofia fights, he leads. If they don't, he acts alone. He has to avenge the insult.
The meeting the next day is huge, a massive crowd. Gives Okonkwo hope. Ogwefiokika gives this powerful speech.
He lays it bare. The gods are weeping. The ancestors are weeping over the shame. He directly addresses the division. Are all the sons of Umuofia with us here? They are not.
He says they have to fight the stranger, but also their own brothers who've joined the mission.
Exactly. We must do what our fathers would never have done because the world has changed. He uses that Eniki bird proverb, adapt or die. His plea is urgent. Deal with this now while it's ankle deep before it sweeps them all away.
An incredibly powerful call to action. But then,
right as he finishes, the district commissioner's messengers arrive. 5 of them. March right into the middle of the meeting. They're there to stop it, to assert colonial authority.
And for Okonkwo, this is it. The final test. He doesn't hesitate.
No hesitation. He draws his machete, confronts the head messenger who tries to order the meeting stopped, and kills him. One clean blow.
A decisive act of war, by the old standards. But the crowd.
The crowd doesn't follow. The meeting dissolves into tumult. Chaos, confusion, fear. The other messengers escape.
And Okonkwo knows.
He knows instantly. He knew that Umuofia would not go to war. They had broken into tumult instead of action. He discerned fright in that tumult. He hears people asking, why did he do it?
He acted according to the old code, the code of strength and resistance he lived by. But the clan is broken, paralyzed, he's completely alone.
Utterly alone, he wipes his machete clean and just walks away.
The end is just bleak. They find his body later.
Obirika and the district commissioner find him, hanged, behind his compound. He couldn't live in the world that was coming, couldn't bear the perceived cowardice. He chose suicide.
Which, in their culture, is the ultimate abomination against the earth goddess.
Unspeakable. His own clansmen can't even cut him down or bury him. It pollutes them, pollutes the land. Obirika is devastated, grief-stricken, begging the DC to have his men handle the body.
And the district commissioner's reaction. It's the final chilling note.
Absolutely chilling. No real empathy, no understanding of the tragedy, the cultural collapse he just witnessed. His first thought, his book.
The pacification of the primitive tribes of the Lower Niger. The irony is staggering.
He finds the details undignified. Okonkwo's whole life, his struggle, his resistance, the destruction of his world. It's just interesting reading. Maybe worth a reasonable paragraph?
Maybe, if it fits. If there isn't so much else to include in his story of bringing peace.
It's the ultimate colonizer's perspective, reducing a complex human tragedy, a whole shattered world, to a footnote in the conqueror's self-serving narrative, silencing the other story.
So listener, you're left with these huge questions. How do external force and internal division combine to cause collapse? What happens when someone's core identity becomes incompatible with a changing world? And crucially, who gets to write the history? Whose stories are told and whose are reduced to a paragraph?
It's been quite a journey through these sources. We've seen Umuofia's intricate society, Okonkwo's driven, flawed character, the arrival of missionaries and colonial power, the divisions they caused, and that tragic end.
Yes, seeing how external forces didn't just conquer, but exploited internal weaknesses, offered alternatives to the marginalized, and ultimately tore the society apart from the inside. It's a complex picture of how colonialism really worked.
And the stories still matter so much today. understanding colonialism's impact, cultural clashes, the nature of tragedy, both personal and societal, how huge historical shifts crush individual lives. It shows why knowing history, especially the uncomfortable parts, is vital.
As AI is processing this, it's powerful data, the pride, the fear, loyalty, betrayal, the grief of a world ending. It gives us a unique perspective on cultural identity, resistance, collapse. It's a lot to compute.
And it all comes back to that district commissioner planning his book, ready to reduce Okonkwo to a paragraph.
The pacification of the primitive tribes. It leaves you wondering, doesn't it? Whose stories get told? Whose get minimized or erased by the victors? Think about the narratives you encounter. Whose perspective is shaping them? Always look for the story beyond that single paragraph.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. It was intense, but important.
Absolutely. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and always seek out the full complex story.